Would you still vote for Obama if he promises to build fewer concentration camps than Romney? The answer is an unequivocal, absolute yes. And in fact, I would go further. It is morally repugnant of you if you believe that candidate A will create more concentration camps in this hypothetical than candidate B to in any way aid or abet the election of that candidate A. Because I'm speaking in those terms because you're obviously writing to me with some type of moral righteousness. Look in the mirror and tell yourself that you are morally righteous because you would knowingly aid and abet someone who's going to create more concentration camps than less.
Damn.
His audience thinks I don't know what Gazans felt on October 8th, but toward Hamas. But I can tell you that we have there is a long history of terrorist organizations or so-called terrorist organizations like the ANC or the IRA. Even the PLO,
now, Sam,
that ultimately become political organizations.
I think the comparison to Hamas to what happened in South Africa is insanely disingenuous. Why? And I personally hate when people do that.
I mean, Mandela didn't think so.
Well, Mandela did think so. He explicitly stated that he avoided committing violence on the citizenry because it would make reunification impossible.
Twice they asked
That's
Nelson
something he
Mandela,
said.
if you disavow violence, we will let you go free.
I will not disavow violence.
You are wrong. You are wrong.
I think under 200 civilians died. And the people who did kill civilians were almost all held accountable.
When they say violence, Hasan, they don't mean raping people. That's not the type of violence that Nelson Mandela wanted. That is the type of violence that you support. Difference.
So, the president signed an executive order just this week threatening to defund sanctuary cities for their policies. Why not just arrest the leaders who are harboring and shielding illegal aliens, actually terrorists, from deportation?
Wait to see what's coming.
So,
great clip, great audio. Good job, guys. Nice.
This is what the president said he would do. He would make course corrections and go. Do you think the American public is getting that perspective?
I do to a point. I think people are a little bit nervous at this point, but I think we have to give him time. We elected him because we wanted a change. We needed a change, and that's why he was elected into office, to make a difference. And I think, 100 days, he's done great things. He's scared a few people, but I think we need to give him a chance to follow through on his plan, because I do think he's got, like Dominic said, great people in his corner and, smart people, and he's a businessman. He's not a politician, and I think we have to give him a chance to go forward with his plan.
All right, let's get your reaction to this. In spite of whatever rough patches we may have seen, President Trump's supporters are standing behind him. Take a look at the... this is what the president said he would do. He would make course corrections.
Okay. Check out the Ukraine mine deal. What is your take? Everything related to Ukraine that Trump does is fucking retarded. I don't know what it means or if it matters, or we'll see.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. All right, Judiciary After Dark. So 100 days into the administration, Mr. Chairman, the golden age. Some are saying, many perhaps, that even William Henry Harrison had a better 100 days. But I want to talk about the economy, because that will explain my amendments. Goldman Sachs is now saying the United States will have the lowest economic growth and the highest inflation of any developed country, all related to tariffs. The Dow's down 3,000 points. Consumer sentiment has fallen 32% since Trump took office, the largest decline since the 90s. And then, there's this, Trump in January 29, 2024, after inauguration, says, this is the Trump stock market. It's his stock market. And then on April 30th, something happened. And he says, this is Biden's stock market, not Trump's. So anyway,
That's kind of weird. What do you think
And
happened?
then today, what he said was even more interesting. He said, and even the next quarter, that will sort of be Biden's also. Kind of telling us that it's going to get worse. So, Mr. Chairman, listen, in the spirit of Doge, I present to you 4 amendments that have over $900 million, some people would say that's $1 billion, okay, of savings to the American people. I decided to Doge your budget. Even though the Doge caucus in Congress is dead, it met twice. I know, I was there. It did nothing. It was never included. Instead, what we got was a executive branch Doge program that fell 80% lower than their goal. They left the E out in Doge. They didn't do anything that was efficient. They've not helped government become more efficient, just the dog part. And so what I did, Mr. Chairman, is I used the exact same metric that Elon Musk used. I just made it up. So let's go with let's just go with page 70. Okay? On page 70, you want to put $700 million into the IT budget. I propose we make that $600 million. Save the American people $100 million. $600 million for computers, Mr. Chairman, sounds like a lot of money. My next amendment in there is on page 75. You guys want to spend $1.3 billion to hire lawyers. You guys starting a law firm? I mean, didn't Trump get like billions of dollars of like pro bono work out of all of the law firms? So what I propose, Mr. Chairman, is instead of $1.3 billion, we just spend $1 billion. How about $1 billion on lawyers? That sounds like a lot of money, $1 billion on lawyers. New cars. Homeland needs new cars. So you guys want to spend $250 million on new cars. I propose $125 million. Feel like they could probably get away with $125 million in new cars, not $250. I know cars are more expensive because of the tariffs, but at the end of the day, I feel like $125 million is a lot of money. And then this one's my favorite. I don't know if you know this, but you guys have $858 million, again, almost $1 billion, okay, of money to give out bonuses to people. And so listen, bonuses are great when people do good work, but $858 million sounds like a lot of money. That's like a $40,000 bonus to every employee in all of ICE. So how about $500 million? How about $500 million for bonuses? Okay.
Okay.
We can do this together. We can show the American people there's like a little bit of waste here, So I can help you capture, Mr. Chairman, $903 million. We can save $1 billion together. Show the American people we're serious.
Will the gentleman yield for a question?
Of course I will.
You raise a profoundly serious point in your inimitable way, Mr. Moskowitz. The bonuses, that is a huge bonus budget.
Yeah.
What does that work out? Have you done the math to see what that works out in terms of bonus per ICE employee?
$42,000 for every employee in a bonus, in addition to their salary.
A $42,000 bonus?
Yeah, $42,000. And because you and I sometimes are symbiotic, you're probably going to ask me, what is the average bonus for the American worker in this country?
Do you know what that is?
It's $2,500.
That's the average Christmas bonus is $2,500?
The average Christmas bonus, because Christmas is back, the average Christmas bonus is $2,500, but they want to give $42,000. And what I would suggest in my amendment is instead of $42,000, they get $25,000. That sounds like a lot of money.
Well, it seems to me you've probably hit upon the one thing we really could effectuate a compromise on, although I don't know that we're going to be able to talk to them about it, but maybe they'll just vote for it.
I mean, listen, if no one there wants to talk, bring in Comer. He'll definitely talk to me.
Okay, based. ICE is now doing overtime to fill the quotas. Soon they ran out of illegal aliens, and now they go through Americans instead to fill out that bonus. Based. This guy just saved as much money as Doge did, or more, right? That was based.
The expressions heaven on earth and hell on earth refer to different states of human existence. What if I told you there was a third state, in between heaven and hell, in between pain and suffering? Tonight's story is about a young man who experienced purgatory on earth. A young man who was forced to hang out at night with his girlfriend and her friends.
Damn. This could happen to you guys.
On a stormy
This program contains reenactments of real people and real events, as well as content that may be disturbing to some viewers. Viewer discretion is advised.
summer night, 25-year-old Ryan Banner was alone in his apartment, playing his little games. It was heaven on earth, until he received a phone call from his girlfriend of 4 months, Mary.
Hey, what's up?
Hi, what are you doing tonight?
Nothing. Got nothing going on.
Oh, perfect. I'm having the girls over for a little gathering. Would love it if you came.
Yeah. What time?
If you've got nothing going on, wanna just come over now? Everyone just got here.
Awesome. I'll see you there.
Awesome. See you soon.
Yeah, the adrenaline kicked in, and I was just thinking of any excuse I could, but I couldn't think of one, and that's why I ended up going.
Hey guys, this is Ryan. We finally get to meet the mystery man. We've heard so much about you. Give us a spin.
All right.
Molly is so funny. I could tell that Ryan felt comfortable and really liked my friends.
It wasn't that funny. I was just uncomfortable.
Wait, Emily, tell him that crazy story you were telling us the other night.
Yes. Oh my God, it was insane. I'll give you some context. Do you know Bryce Trenton?
No.
Have you seen Love Island?
No.
Yes, you have. We've seen a few episodes together. He's seen it.
Oh, I have seen it. Okay.
Well, he was from the last season. And do you know the Spray Lounge? Have you ever been?
No.
Well, I was there last night and I saw Bryce Trenton.
That was the whole story, start to finish. Jesus wept. Ryan felt like he had been in there for hours, but it had only been 3 minutes.
Where'd you get this candle?
Yankee Candle.
Hey, do you have anything to drink?
Like alcohol?
Yes.
No, sorry. So far, it was really fun, and I could tell that Ryan was having a really good time.
When Mary said there was no alcohol, I was like, oh, fuck, I really should have brought my own, because I just knew I couldn't get through it sober. And her friends are really nice people, but I wanted to kill myself.
Ryan knew the night ahead called for something stronger than water, but the well is always dry in Purgatory. In fact, he thought all hope was lost, until...
Dean's gonna be here in a second. I'll go let him in.
Dean is Lauren's boyfriend.
Oh, cool. Relief completely filled my body when I...
Does he not have his phone, or... Oh, my friend. Oh, no, my friend. What a painfully naive question. You think you could be invited to a social outing like this and spend all of your time on your phone? Oh, no, my friend. Do you want to fight for the next week? Is that what you're choosing?
I found out another guy was coming because I thought it'd make it easier to hang out. He'll probably have alcohol. And then Dean walked in.
Dean!
Oh, no.
Ladies, as always, a treat to be in your company. Oh, who's this young pharaoh?
Ryan.
Dean Chateau. It's a pleasure.
Within seconds of meeting Dean, I knew he was going to be a brutal hang.
I'm like cilantro. You either love me or you hate me. Or you haven't had me yet. In that case, I say, hello, Queen. The name's Dean Chateau.
Yeah, all hope of escaping this purgatory was now fully shattered. Ryan knew he just had one option left.
Okay, everyone pulls a card one at a time. If you get a 2, you are out. If you get a 6, you are out. If you get a 9, you are out. If you get a 7, you are out. If you get an 8, you're out.
When Dean started explaining the card game he invented, I went into fight or flight mode, so I had to start a fight with Mary and her friends.
Love, even in its infancy, can bite.
Yeah, I didn't have a choice.
6 out, I said that. 10 out. 4 out.
Are you having fun?
You're out.
Oh no. That didn't sound
Do you
very
like my friends?
enthusiastic.
Yeah, they're really funny and pretty.
Jack, you're out.
Calling Mary's friends funny and pretty started the fight almost immediately.
Yeah, that made me really angry. So I told everyone I was sick and I asked them to leave.
She did.
And then I screamed at Ryan for the rest of the night.
She did.
This was your opportunity to meet my friends and make a good impression, and you call them pretty in front of my face, and they hear that.
What is worse, to feel pain or to feel nothing at all? Ryan chose pain over purgatory. Ryan sent himself into hell, and his suffering was legendary. A worse fate? Perhaps, but at least Ryan chose his own destiny. And at least Ryan survived hanging out with his girlfriend and those brick-headed friends of hers. And remember, this could happen to you.
Are any of these your cards? Do any of these belong to you? Not one. You're out. You're out. You're out. Now there's 5 left. Now these are very important. You're going to want to make sure you pay attention to this part. If this isn't it, you're out. If this is it, you're out. Hey, where are you going?
To tend to my fire. I'm tired of smothering it. My fire needs to breathe. Have a good life, Dean.
Ignite your fire.
Good ad. Jesus. Let's see. They got any closer?
Would be the court consent that venue is appropriate in North Carolina for any murder involving a citizen of North Carolina. They could both agree to it. They could both define their murder statutes and add venue statutes that say venue is proper in North Carolina for murders that involve North Carolina principles. And notwithstanding that fact, the North Carolina doesn't have territorial jurisdiction to hear the murder that occurred in Oklahoma. They're different concepts. It's different concept, but if they didn't have territorial jurisdiction, then it wouldn't be a proper venue. Even if they said that doesn't follow. That does not follow. It's possible to have venue. It does. Why? Wait. Cite the principle that where it says it's impossible to have proper venue and also have territorial. Would you would you agree that subject matter? Would you admit that subject matter? Wait. You're just not answering my question. I'm citing the principle. I am. Would you admit that subject matter? That's a question. That's a question. Wait, that's a question. That's a question. That's not answering my question.
Come on, guys.
Would you admit that subject matter jurisdiction is non-waivable? So you're not going to answer my question, or do you want me to answer that first? I am answering your question. That's not. So a question is not an answer to a question. If a place says, well, we're going to waive subject matter jurisdiction. Oklahoma law says subject matter jurisdiction no matters. We're going to say that all of these cases can be heard in North Carolina. It would still be the improper venue, even though they wrote a law saying it was the venue, because it lacks the jurisdiction. So just because they said so this is you conflating jurisdiction. It's only a proper venue. It is only a
This
proper
is you conflating jurisdiction
if
venue.
there's jurisdiction.
Whoa, but okay.
No,
so what you just said.
Whoa, you just said.
Somebody named Dead Domain made a 2-hour video called "The Lies of Brianna Woo."
I always used to tell her, Venus, you take too many chances, you're too wild with people in the street.
This is one of the final scenes of Jenny Livingston's classic 1990 documentary, Paris is Burning, which explored the underground culture of New York drag scenes and the people in it. The woman here is Venus Extravaganza, a trans woman and performer and aspiring model who had also taken to sex work in the hopes of paying for gender reassignment surgery.
Wow.
In the film, she recounts narrowly escaping a violent encounter with a man who discovered she was trans on a date. During the filming of Paris is Burning, Venus was found murdered. Her body was found on Christmas Day, and she had been strangled just...
I don't know why, but I just know that anything involving anything having to do with Sonic is always a massive red flag. Also, this thing, I feel like I've seen so many videos or random 4chan thing, or maybe it's the same one every time, of this figurine getting cummed on. So we got big red flags. Okay, careful.
Just a few days earlier in the Duchess Hotel. To this day, her killer has never been found. I bring this up because Venus's story, despite taking place 3 decades ago, is eerily prescient. Anybody in the trans and wider LGBTQ community likely knows someone who has been sexually assaulted, physically assaulted for their identity, or even just who had to turn to sex work to make money, a precarious pursuit that endangers many trans people today. Now, what—
That's Morrigan. She's a succubus. She's meant to be cummed on. Oh, okay.
What does this have to do with Brianna Woo? On January 3rd, 2025, Brianna Woo tweeted a response to someone calling out a post where she decried progressivism as the reason for trans people's current political woes. Her response was, many trans women go—
Also, oh my God. Okay, listen. I love Israel, Gon. Okay, I love Israel. And I will always be Israel's strongest warrior. Except when they're acting fucking retarded. But Brianna Woo simping for Israel is a lot, okay? She needs to chill. Jesus Christ. Today I was walking outside and I saw Palestinian children, 2 of them, throwing rocks at a dog. How does she even know they were Palestinian? What was that tweet today? What the fuck?
Go into sex work because we have autogynephilia, and being objectified is erotic for us. And the first thing I thought of when I saw this post was Venus. I thought about all of my friends who had been turned away from jobs because they were trans, who had been forced into sex work by circumstance or other people who had survived only on it, and who have been stripped of their dignity because sacrificing that dignity was the only way they could sometimes eat the 1 or 2 meals they got a week. And I bring up this decades-old documentary not just because it's personally resonant, but because it shows how—
Just saw some Palestinian children try to stone a dog to death. All right, based.
How long this kind of thing has been an accepted part of queer and trans life. Exploitation isn't new for people who know and maintain community with other trans people. This reply, like most things Brianna says about trans people with such authority, is not based in fact or even really in her personal experiences. Unless you want to say she finds the idea of being objectified personally titillating, which is certainly a valid reading of what she says here. For the record, I don't think that's what she's getting at, but it would tie into a very common theme in Brianna's work, which is a consistent fetishization and reduction of what it means to be a woman, something we will examine later. Brianna likes to play at being an authoritative voice for the trans movement. In the last few years especially, she—
Wait, real quick. I keep getting capped on not being able to just output enough like bursts of power for fucking lasers. Is there an easy way to do this, or do I just need to keep plopping down more accumulators? It's so fucking cringe.
Is turned away from progressivism and has attempted to engage right-wing and even far-right voices, courting turfs, all in the name of being a reasonable voice for the trans community, something nobody asked her to do, but she's still taking it upon herself. Now, I want to be open and say that because I had so many questions from my time looking into Brianna's history, I did attempt to reach out to Brianna multiple times through multiple avenues to sit down and have an interview.
Oh my God, it's 5.8 megawatts. So one of those turbines is 10 times as much as these. Fuck, okay.
Yep. She had blocked me on multiple websites, and I'll be honest, that is completely fair, considering some of the not very nice things I've said about her.
Damn.
Mostly at the time, those were reactions to what I saw as her abdicating the responsibility to help other trans people instead of her throwing other identities like non-binary people, like myself, under the bus. So I can't blame her for not being open to discussion. I maintain that I earnestly did want to hear her take on most of the things I discuss in this video, and if she watches it and wants to sit down and have a convo and set the record straight, my DMs are open to you, Brianna. That being said, she did respond to some other folks who asked for an interview in my stead by labeling me a weirdo degenerate. Again, no hard feelings, Brianna.
Not cool.
I don't like you either, and I don't want to be your friend. But I also at least try to be a little fair in my assessment of people, and just because I don't like somebody doesn't mean I don't want to depict them honestly, which is why I found it somewhat annoying that she would say this within a few hours of platforming just dickheads like Lior Sapir or Richard Hanania.
Oh, okay.
See, she placates these figures by essentially saying they're right that some trans people are evil and are grooming kids, but not all trans people, not the transes like Brianna. And as I'll show, this is just the latest in a long line of what sure look like shifting grifts for Brianna Woo. During her time in the spotlight, she has had many titles, from congressional candidate to game developer to artist, question mark citation needed, and at every step of her journey, she has managed to claw her way to slightly more...
I think my favorite Brianna Woo tweet of all time was when she tweeted out, what was it? When I was 21 years old, my parents gave me a loan for $200,000 to start my own business, and I learned more from that than I ever would from college. Like, yeah, if only we all had parents to loan us such great amounts of money. True.
Relevancy, leaving a long list of enemies in her wake. I'm not going to sugarcoat my words. I want to be as clear as possible why I took on this project. If there's a thesis to this video, it's this. From everything I've found, from all the information available to me, and that I've heard from firsthand sources, Brianna Woo is a volatile liar and a fraud and should have no future in any kind of political analysis or creative endeavor. Let alone representing any group of people. Because there are so many concurrent themes running in her story, this video will kind of be all over the place by necessity. There's no way to talk about the totality of Brianna's various controversies without jumping between them to show the decades-long patterns of her behavior, but I promise it's all leading to the overall point: Brianna Woo should never be taken seriously by anyone.
Jesus.
I haven't just trawled through old forums and found some dirt. I've spoken with several anonymous sources that knew her, interacted with her directly, and even worked with or under her. None of them had very nice things to say, by the way. In fact, most people I've talked to who worked with Brianna that don't seem to. Brianna Woo is not a genuine person. I know this because I've seen how she acts in private, where she often plays the role of a mean girl, talking shit about others, often over their appearances or their optics rather than any kind of principled stances. Even the people she would publicly claim to ally herself with, like Destiny, aren't safe from her insulting them.
No! Wait, what? Hold on.
Even the people she would publicly claim to ally herself with.
Rip Bozo. Are you fucking serious? Did she rip Bozo me? This was back, I think, over the Keffel stuff when she was defending Keffels.
Like Destiny aren't safe from her insulting them when she thinks nobody else is watching. Another example is the time.
Oh, wait, was that more about me? Hold on.
Destiny aren't safe from her insulting.
Single. Oh, Jesse Single. Okay.
Them when she thinks nobody else is watching. Another example is the time she speculated about Shoe on Head being the victim of assault. Or, as I'll show later, how she has often attempted to hire people to create dossiers on who she deems her political enemies. But this is going to be a long video, so stash that one away for later. And I have evidence for everything I'm saying, by the way. She seems to only...
Yeah, she openly hated you, ATP. That's not behind your back. Wait, what is ATP? All the time? All... Oh, at that point. Come, fuck off with all these abbreviations. Fucking Zoomer fucks.
Only care about optics, not right or wrong, which is probably why her opinions have shifted over time as she makes her broad pivot to being a dollar store Blair White. Additionally, I've had several people share their DMs with me from Brianna and stories of how she's attempted to bully them and force them into stepping into line, particularly in recent years as she's taken it upon herself to represent that reasonable trans population. Some of these I will also share later in the video. These are just some of Brianna's more duplicitous facets that will pop up throughout what can loosely be called a career. Like I said, it's going to be all over the place, and as a result, this video will be filled with more callbacks than a Marvel Phase 5 writer's room. She is incredibly thin-skinned, talks authoritatively about things she has very little or no knowledge of, blatantly lies about her experience and credentials, and lashes out at anyone who might challenge her. People have spent the last 3 years or so asking why she so suddenly pivoted to the right. But the reality is, this is who Brianna has always been. While my other deep dive investigative pieces have spent ample time disproving the conspiracies and lies spread by people like Matt Walsh or Synthetic Man, I have far less of that to do here. That's not to say Brianna isn't a liar. She is, and I'll be debunking some of her talking points accordingly. But the real evidence of who Brianna is isn't in her worldview. In fact, I'd say it's the opposite. Brianna Woo constantly shows just who she is by her lack of any ideology aside from being a desperate, attention-seeking grifter.
Damn. This needs to be like 20 times louder.
The first thing to know about Brianna Woo is that she never had much to worry about in life. When she was 19, she went to Millsaps College, only to drop out to found an animation company that, like her college endeavors, was funded...
it's a tweet! When I was 20, my parents handed me $200,000 to start an animation business. I learned more from that experience than anything in college. Bayzed.
By her parents to, as Woo would attest later, the tune of over $200,000. The animation studio was known as Socially Unconscious Productions, and we will talk about it more in a little bit when we discuss Brianna's art and how she's lied about that over time. These aren't just random assertions, by the way. Much of this Woo has talked about in her various interviews with the media, from an interview piece on Inc.com in 2015. Quote, "At Ole Miss, Woo studied journalism and wrote for the Daily Mississippian, but she never graduated. She left school the first time to start her own video animation company, came back, and dropped out for good in 2001 after getting swept up in the excitement surrounding George W. Bush's election as president. Her parents were big donors, and they got her a ticket to an inauguration ball. That led to a stint working in Washington, long enough to become disillusioned with Republican politics, as well as dangerously dependent on Ambien, a sleep aid. Her parents, in the final act of support, brought her home to Hattiesburg and paid for a bed at Pine Grove, where Tiger Woods would later be treated for sex addiction." End quote. She's also publicly posted pre-transition pictures that confirm her identity as the person we're about to hear stories on. Now, I don't really care if someone ambles through college to find their direction in life. I did it, plenty of people do, regardless of economic bracket. I'm also not interested in talking about Woo's time in rehab. The reason I included the full paragraph was to talk about her lifelong links to Republican electoral politics, because that is going to come up later. The real problem is that despite not graduating, many interviews in the future would regard her as a graduate from Ole Miss, even her own website claiming she graduated from there. But there isn't really much of a record of her actually finishing that degree. And on her LinkedIn account, for example, it says she attended from 2003 to 2008 and majored in journalism and political science. Her LinkedIn bio currently reads, quote, Brianna Woo is a software engineer, entrepreneur, and outspoken advocate for women's rights. One of the most prominent women in technology, Brianna founded her first $250,000 startup at 19. In running for US Congress, Brianna is working to bring a new generation of voices and values to Washington. And already you can see some of the aspects of Brianna that will become recurring themes in her story. Namely, depicting herself as far more qualified than she actually is, saying she's a startup founder at 19 without mentioning that said startup was shuttered and had nothing to show for the effort. Also pursuing journalism and political science, something to note moving forward as she shows a shocking amount of acumen for either of them. Ooh. Brianna likes to talk about her time in college as a reporter, and there are articles written under her name before she transitioned to verify this. She worked at the school newspaper covering school newspaper things, but according to later forum posts, she would depict this as being on a crime beat. Maybe she did cover crimes at some point. I wasn't able to find any articles to back that up.
Look, Mark, you know this. You just showed that heartbreaking TikTok at the video at the beginning of this. So that 3-year-old girl on the ground, that breaks my heart. I got my start in journalism, covering police successes in Mississippi, which is very racialized.
Brianna had always been interested in being an artist. And
guys, when I rebrand from Destiny to Steve Abundant II, okay, after I get convicted of all my pending, I shouldn't joke about rapes. Never mind. When I rebrand, okay, I need you all to forget everything I've ever said about my history, okay? We're gonna make up a totally new past, okay? Because I've realized that every single motherfucker I think I've ever spoken to just fucking lies about everything in their past, and I should just do that, okay? So we're gonna spend a stream brainstorming, okay, before I rebrand from Destiny to Steve, and we're gonna just think up the most baller bio, I guess, that a person could ever have. Because why the fuck not, okay? Why the fuck not?
Tried to get a comic she was writing into the local paper, and according to some forum gossip, when she was denied, she blew up at the teacher and person who ran the newspaper, calling them both slurs.
Based?
Namely, calling the teacher a sand N-word. Now, I want to tread very carefully here because there's very little to go on for verifying this incident, but I do think this kind of meltdown, taking offense over her artistic ability, and the fact that she did work for the newspaper are all entirely compatible with Brianna's trends of behavior sense and line up with the timeline of her career.
I think you should be very careful about stuff like that. If you've decided you don't like a person, then, I mean, you could find any random story. I feel like if you're gonna make a 2-hour whatever fucking video, you should do a little bit more work to verify some stuff like this, but.
Particularly the anti-Arab slur. While she might not be slinging such harsh language anymore, she's still blatantly racist towards Palestinian people. The first time I met her, I was the opinion editor at the Daily Mississippian, and I turned to see this creepy fuck standing behind me. I shook her hand, and she pulled away, saying, ow. She then explained she'd broken her wrist in a bicycle accident that had almost killed her and given her amnesia. She explained that she wanted to be a columnist, and she had previously worked for George W. Bush in the White House, but she had since realized how R-slur and evil all conservatives were.
Not the
About
R-slur,
this time, my phone started ringing, and I politely ignored it while I talked to this girl. Then it rang again and again until I answered. It was the managing editor, who had ducked behind the front desk and was whispering, stay calm and don't react to this, but this girl isn't supposed to be here. She has a restraining order. Get rid of her. By this point, I was concerned that this girl might knife me at any moment, so I told her to write 3 columns and that I'd evaluate them and get back to her on whether she could write for me. Parenthetical, I'm so proud of my ability to remain poised and convincingly pretend that the Daily Mississippian had any fucking standards. Turns out, a year prior, she'd come in wanting the Daily Mississippian to run a comic strip she had been doing. When she was told they weren't interested, she flipped out. She called one of the workers a fat dyke, and when Dr. Husani came to her defense, she called him a raghead and sand N-word. They got a restraining order to keep her away from Farley, but when they moved to Bishop, it no longer applied, and she was actually able to weasel back into working for the SMC. Here, we see several pieces of corroborating evidence with Brianna's own stories later. Things that are incredibly specific, like working with the Republican Party, which, again, Brianna would admit to in later interviews. So with these pieces of the puzzle, I feel pretty comfortable saying this did happen, and before transition, Brianna did go on a homophobic and racist rant. And right now you might say, well, that's not a lot of evidence.
Yeah,
and you're right, I'm taking a little bit of this on faith, but having spent as much time as I have now studying Brianna, I can say this absolutely falls within the realm of her regular behavior and how she continues to act even today. So by the end of this video, I think you'll probably agree with me on this one. And plus, you'll be shocked to learn this kind of outburst and homophobia would come back later in her life.
Damn.
Additionally, there are pieces of art from her time in college when she was crafting this comic strip called Election Eve that, while made under her dead name, the same name cited in the forum gossip, is in the same style and even shares similar designs with Revolution 60, Brianna's eventual sole video game creative credit, particularly the characters Holiday and Minuet, who are recurring through much of Brianna's creative work. These comics and the artistic similarities further cement Brianna as the same person mentioned in the—
Drew DM me. I DM'd him back. I'll chat with him if he wants to tonight, okay? It's gonna be a boring talk. We have nothing to talk about, but I'll chat with him if he wants.
Forum posts. Mind you, these posts were idle gossip years before Brianna became any kind of notable political or game industry figure. Socially Unconscious and Election Eve aren't really notable except for how poorly they were received, with the flat jokes often depicting offensive stereotypes and not making much sense, at least according to the mail-in section of the college newspaper. Thanks to Andrea James at Transgender Map for help with these sources, by the way. And speaking of her brief comic strip writer stint, I can't really talk about this era of Brianna without acknowledging her probably made-up girlfriend, Lauren Malovi, in 2001.
Jesus.
During her time with
Okay, listen. Why the fuck does any of this matter? I don't care about high school, college slop.
Socially Unconscious, Brianna, then pre-transition, was writing her comic Election Eve, with Malovi apparently the primary artist. Now, the art style is already pretty distinctive and similar to Brianna's own, so keep that in mind. Malovi never posted a picture of herself, but blog posts exist on the Socially Unconscious website claiming she and Brianna were partners and in love. Curiously, there are posts under Malovi's name like product reviews circa 2004. The way it's written is notably similar to Brianna's own assertive and casually abrasive style, and internet sleuths would later discover the only address from anyone named Lauren Malovi matched the same house as a pre-transition Brianna. Malovi is, as it turns out, also a Bond girl's last name, Cara Malovi from the 1987 film The Living Daylights. You'll notice that Brianna is a big fan of spy fiction, and you can see it in her art of women with all the updos and the go-go boots and bright, garish, skin-tight suits. It's like Austin Powers' Silent Hill. Then there's the evidence via Socially Unconscious's own website that Brianna publicly advertised looking for female models, citing Lauren being camera shy. Perhaps most damning is that after Socially Conscious Productions was shut down, Lauren Malovi seems to have almost entirely disappeared, which, as we would soon see, coincided with Brianna's transition. Now, I don't like speculating at what I can't prove, but as a trans person, I think this feels familiar to how a lot of people might try exploring their own gender behind the anonymity of—
I don't want to speculate on something I can't prove. Does it for the 15th time. Also, wouldn't it also make sense that if you decide to transition, couldn't you lose a partner during that time? I feel like that's probably a relatively common experience. A person finally realizes they're trans, decides to transition, and if your current partner is just a whatever cis normie fuck, and they're probably like, sorry, I'm bouncing. But
as a trans person, I think this feels familiar to how a lot of people might try exploring their own gender behind the anonymity of the internet. I honestly don't care if Brianna made up an entire internet girlfriend to
then why did you include it?
Explore ideas around femininity and gender expression, which is kind of what it looks like happened here. Everyone's done internet cringe when they were younger, nobody was exploited and nobody was hurt by this, so I don't really care. And you might ask yourself, then why bring this up? Especially when there's only anecdotal evidence to go on.
Why?
Isn't it possible this Lauren Malovi just so happened to live at the same place, write similarly, draw similarly, and act similarly to Brianna, and then disappeared before Brianna transitioned? Come on. It is technically possible that there is someone named Lauren Malovi out there, but—
What percentage of this do you think was researched on Kiwi Farms? Probably like 95% of it. I don't know. Actually, I've never checked out her thread, so I have no clue.
What makes Lauren notable, however, is how it's not the only time there would be compelling evidence that Brianna Woo would craft an identity or person on the internet to support her. So like most things in Brianna's story, we're going to come back to this later. Going back to the animation studio startup, Woo was given money from her parents to start. You may have noticed I mentioned she went to Millsaps and then referred to her going to Ole Miss. That's not an accident because she was at Millsaps before Ole Miss, and it's here she would put out her first comics. A lot of stories from Brianna's time in college are hard to verify, not just because she hadn't transitioned yet, but because she constantly either lies or omits details about this time in her life publicly, despite some details leaking through in various interviews. And after internet weirdos on Kiwi Farms and 4chan began targeting her during Gamergate, she's gone to extensive lengths to try and bury certain aspects of her past, such as the aforementioned racist outburst. But one thing is for certain, she came from a rich-ass conservative family who helped her through every difficulty in her early life, from rehab to funding her own startup when she was 19 years old. From a story titled, quote, "Don't Mess with Brianna Woo," posted to Fiction Mania in 2006, she also mentions being able to have finished laser hair removal just 6 months into her transition, something that is prohibitively expensive for many.
By the way, y'all aren't ready for that conversation, but trans people should be fought against by conservatives. If they wanted to mindfuck left people, you should fight against trans people. It's the biggest representation, okay, for class struggle. Because trans women that can afford facial feminization surgery and all the other little boutique hyper expensive surgeries that they can. Okay, passing, that's a bourgeois concept. Okay, the proletariat trans person suffers under the plight of our capitalist system. So all trans stuff should be outlawed until class solidarity has been reached.
Any trans women even today. I don't need to even speculate that growing up rich affected Brianna because she's been open about it, saying in 2014 that her millionaire parents affected her upbringing and outlook on the world. She was given $200,000 to start an animation studio that eventually dissolved before producing any kind of product. If the aforementioned ad for a model to pose as Lauren Malovi is any indication, the studio's ambitions were to turn Election Eve into a movie and were apparently working on a sequel novel before there was anything even released aside from the comic strip itself. The level of...
Is this a new type of purity testing only... Wait, that thing. The only real liberals are the ones born liberals? I mean, I imagine she's trying to show a pattern of deception, but we're at very weak to nothing so far. Like, yeah.
Exuberant, blind, naive ambition would become another commonality in Brianna's saga. But that doesn't mean that Brianna didn't have something to show for her time in art animation in college. She has a long history of art with a, let's say, distinctive style. Now, I don't want to specifically make fun of anybody's art here. Art isn't easy, but I do find several things about...
Okay, this person, are they them? Because I said non-binary. Oh my God. Just fucking pick a set of real pronouns, okay? This person has said like 50 million times, I don't want to do this, and then does this. Why? Hello?
Brianna's art interesting, particularly how she draws and very explicitly fetishizes women's bodies. And by interesting, I mean, it's like I can tell a lot about a person and how she sees the world from it. Like that Jake Gyllenhaal character in the one movie he did with Wolverine. You know the one. Much of her art depicts busty, rail-thin, leggy women, often in skin-tight or very little to no clothing.
Yeah.
This is another trend in her work over the last 20 years. There's very little variation in the body types of women, or for that matter, the style in which they are written. Almost all of her characters are generically headstrong women, independent badasses who
I'm on that AGP grind, yes!
Feel rooted in an outdated brand of Obama-era girl boss feminism. Again, aesthetically, there are a lot of overlaps we can see with Brianna's inspirations, like pulpy spy fiction, specific anime and manga, Final Fantasy, and more.
Damn.
And yes, of course, we have to talk about the MLK Terminator with the KKK Ninja Girls.
Uh-oh.
There's just no other way to describe it. This piece...
What's AGP? Before we had PCI Express, motherboards had these things called AGP slots. They were brown. This is what old graphics cards went into. There was also this weird guy called, it wasn't Baudrillard, that was a French philosopher guy. I don't remember this person's name. But there was a person who had like a theory for trans people. I think it's considered outdated and definitely transphobic. This is like advanced transphobia. But the idea is trans women are actually just men who want to jerk off to themselves in the mirror. And therefore, trans women are just men that fetishize the female body so much they try to transform into it. And the accusation for those types of people is called AGP, which is autogynephilia. So auto meaning self, gyno meaning woman, philia meaning sexual paraphernalia or whatever. So the fetishization of your own body as a trans woman means that you're not a real trans person, you're just a perverted guy, basically.
This was apparently...
is how it went.
The cover...
Blanchard, that one, that sounds right.
There's just no other way to describe it. This piece was apparently the cover for Crossed Genres and was accompanied by this blurb from her husband Frank Woo in 2009. Quote, Brianna went to University of Mississippi, where a famous race riot took place. Thus the building is the Lyceum, where you can still see the bullet holes in the columns. As one of the lone liberals on campus, Bree wanted to do her own commentary on it. So we see Martin Luther King with a rocket, but it's okay because he's a Terminator. And we also see KKK members, but they're all sexy ninja girls in skimpy white outfits. And now that MLK is free at last from his fleshy shell, he's going to kick their butts. 60s girls in go-go boots and jetpacks fight alongside. Remember when I said she lacked political instincts, despite...
Wait, what? Why do I feel like... Is there like a stupid Family Guy joke or something based off this, like, melody or song or whatever? Does anybody know what I'm talking about? Am I losing my mind?
Butts. 60s girls in go-go boots and jetpacks fight alongside. Remember when I said she lacked political instincts?
Does anybody know what I'm talking about? What am I thinking of? The YTMND meme, is it? I'm in your brain.
All right, here's going straight. I want you to fly to France. All of France. Gay guys having.
Not even remotely close. It's bird is the word.
Heard.
No.
You are bullet.
Why do I feel like in my head I hear like Peter saying something like blah da 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 da, and it's like a falling chromatic line that goes back up. I know this is like a fucking Family Guy thing or something. What am I thinking of? Fuck. Oh wait, it's this. This is not Family Guy. Wait, is it this? Wait, how did you know that? What is this? Hold on. Wait. No. Wait.
Girls in skimpy white outfits. And now that MLK is free at last from his fleshy shell, he's going to kick their butts. 60s girls in go-go
I
boots
don't know.
and jetpacks fight.
Forget it. Forget this whole tangent. Delete the last 5 minutes of stream from your life, okay? This, I think this was, but it's not. Okay, there was that. Okay, sorry.
Alongside.
Forget all that. That was what I was thinking of. It is.
Remember when I said she lacked political instincts, despite...
Sorry, okay, hold on. One more quick meme. I'm so sorry about that.
People...
Uh-oh.
I don't like about people... People say, like, I feel like people sweep for Hamas by saying, like, what do you expect, right? But the truth is that people use
Sweep
South
for
Africa
Hamas.
as...
What are you saying? Sweep? Like, he's using T terminology when he's talking about fucking political commentary.
Bro, you have covered this like the most drama slap. You were cheering that Sam Cedar debate on like you were watching a fucking WWF match. Are you serious?
A real issue. He says sweep. People sweep for Hamas. This isn't Nicholas Eat Oreos talking about Destiny's sex crimes, you fucking psycho.
With his
what are you
mom.
talking about, sweep?
Oh, WWE.
For those of
not
you,
WWF, sorry.
the adults in here that don't know what sweeping is, okay?
The adults in here?
Is, I guess, like terminology that, like...
I like how he's pretending like, I don't know. I guess it's like, it's kind of like, I guess it's like, you know, like...
Okay? Sweeping is, I guess, like terminology that, like, T channels use when they're talking about gossip. And people that actually hide, you know, sweep things under the rug. Okay? Hiding key elements of a story in an effort to defend a problematic individual.
I don't like about people... People say, like, I feel like people sweep for Hamas by saying, like, what do you expect, right? But the truth is...
Did I watch these on my own this morning, or did I watch this on stream? Did we watch the... Dude, Hasan was, like, fucking geeking the fuck out over me being on or theoretically, me swapping places with the fucking Ethan during the debate, which isn't even gonna be possible, because I'm traveling for that Andrew Wilson debate tomorrow, so I'm not even sure if I'll be streaming during the debate, so I'm not even gonna be available for it. But he was geeking out like crazy. Does anybody have any clips for this? Did I watch this on stream, or did I just watch this when I woke up this morning? He legitimately seemed like... I don't know if I've ever seen a man so terrified before. Holy shit. They're on the... Yeah, I feel like I saw it on the subreddit this morning. Oh my god. Wait, is it set to fucking best? Dude, whatever this best setting is, please stop. Why would you work so hard on creating your algorithm for hot that the whole internet is copied and then switch it up to this weird best thing?
That the does not mean that the ANC has ever doubted the right of Israel to exist as a state legally.
Nazi.
We have stood quite openly and firmly for the right of that state to exist within secured borders.
Wait, there was a second slot?
Was going to take place in this.
Like, unironically, Hasan Piker was the biggest Destiny orbiter out
do you
of
think that
anyone
I'm wrong?
involved. in this
Israel
scenario.
has a right to
legitimately bigger than Tom, certainly bigger than me, way bigger than Ethan. Right? Half the cast probably hated Destiny even before the allegations. You think AB was a huge Destiny stan? They covered his allegations. What more do you want? What are they supposed to do? How could he assure you this isn't the case? No, it's just Hasan Piker, who is basically, okay, I don't want to use the word groomed, but like, he is like fed his audience that all criticism are used Destiny talking points and they are to be disregarded.
Saw
okay,
the
for the last
Nick,
5
thanks a
years,
ton.
and he's just going back to what he knows.
Conversation initially was going to take place in this.
Like, unironically, Hasan Piker was the biggest Destiny
sweep. People sweep for Hamas. This isn't Nicholas Eat Oreos talking about Destiny's sex crimes, you fucking psycho. What are you talking about, sweep?
I literally fucking made like 7 videos talking about that, condemning the guy.
He's so mad.
Wow, dude. That's so
For those of you,
crazy.
the adults in sweep, people sweep. Or that was his big smoking gun. He was going to try to bring Dan Saltman on. That was his big smoking gun. Or maybe he was going to try to bring Dan Saltman on or Destiny on in the hopes that I get banned, which I will, by the way. If Dan Saltman or Destiny appears on Friday when we have this conversation, if Ethan is still willing and able to do it, I will get banned. He knows that, which is precisely the reason why I assume he will try to bring them forward, just as I called this initially, just as I called what was going to take place in this conversation initially. I'm telling you right now, if he tries to, oh my God, Sam Cedar me, what a fucking nightmare, with like a person that has been banned, I won't be able to have this conversation with him. I will have to exit out of this conversation because Twitch will absolutely ban me. I know for a fucking fact. Okay? So, no, I already have. I've already talked to my Twitch rep. I did. Shut the fuck up. I did already. I know. They said, no, you will get banned.
They didn't. He's lying.
Do you understand? So, for that reason, if he tries some fuck shit like that, I assume this was a two-parter, okay? This was a two-parter. I suspect that he was initially going to try to get any clip that shows Sam Cedar agreeing with him to be like, see, your ordained designated Jew agrees with me, or something along those lines. And then be like, why do you call me pro-Israel? Okay, that's what he thought he was going to be able to get. It didn't happen. So now I assume his second smoking gun is to probably bring up like Destiny or Dan Saltman in it, with the hopes that I get banned. Because if I don't back out of that conversation, I get banned. If I back out of that conversation when that happens, he will go, oh, you ran away from Destiny. You're so scared. You're just like Steven Crowder. And that's the problem. Okay, he is going to try to present it. I'm telling you right now, if he tries to do some shit like that, that means he doesn't want to have a real conversation with me on this issue. That he's going to try to pull some shtick because he knows that he can't have this real conversation with me.
Somebody said, why do you think Hasan is this afraid of you? He spends all of his time talking about this conflict. You think he'd have way more confidence in his positions? He doesn't, because he doesn't do politics. He does drama slop. The reason why Hasan having any direct like confrontation with me, it would literally be like antimatter meets matter, and it would be a complete implosion of the Hasan universe. Because remember, to Hasan's audience, I'm uneducated, I'm a fucking retard, I'm pro-genocide, I don't know anything, I can't find Palestine on a map. Like these are the statements that he has, this is the illusion of me that he's created to his audience for years. And so if we had a single confrontation, first, it would be immediately obvious that Hasan doesn't know almost anything about what he's talking about. And then the result from that would just be a catastrophic schism in his brain, and he would realize that he's fucked up the handling of the illusion. It's the same reason why people like him or Wash like never actually watch my content on stream. When they respond to it, they just respond to straw mans of things that I say, so that they don't have to accidentally, or why they don't have to accidentally platform me making a coherent point, or why like the only content of mine that Hasan will watch always comes from anti-fan channels or from Nazis that don't like me every time. That's why he's so unhinged about it. But this would be like a terrifying moment for him. Also, I think he kind of, I'm gonna be honest, he's jealous. Okay, he wishes he had 1/5 the horsepower as this Gusano brain. Okay.
Apparently studying political science. I'd like to present to the court Exhibit A. If I thought Brianna had any real understanding of political struggle, let alone MLK and his ideas around reactionary politics, intersectional movements, or really anything about civil rights, I'd say it would be disrespectful to slather the imagery of the civil rights movement in her knockoff manga pinup fetish art style. But I don't want to give her that credit for understanding those things to begin with. As seen in even more recent tweets, her understanding of racism, let alone civil rights struggles, are constantly shown to be thin at best and virtually non-existent at work.
Genuine question, do you think he sleeps at night? How can he believe he's a genuinely good person if he doesn't do this intentionally? Most people, I don't think he's on like that level of cognitive consideration. Thought, I should have said thought. He's not thinking about like good or bad or how can I contribute to the world or any cringe shit like that. He's just thinking about like maximizing clout and maximizing reputation. Those are the only things he cares about, at least right now in his life.
Worst. Now, we will talk more about Brianna's artistic output when we get to Revolution 60 and her stab at game development, but having touched on her various artistic exploits, I feel a need to examine Brianna's constant character self-inserts. These depictions of women aren't just something that she fetishizes, but it's also how she, I believe, to at least some extent, sees herself.
Isn't that going to be all art, though? Isn't all art somewhat of a self-insert? Isn't that pretty normal?
Normally, I think calling things self-inserts is hack-level internet criticism. When it's leveled at game developers, it's almost always not true. For example, incidental passing similarities are bound to happen in art as an extension of the creator's inspirations and personality.
Yeah.
But in Brianna's case, there's a lot of evidence that the characters she makes aren't just representations of her interests, but how she sees herself going through the world. Remember when I talked at the beginning about how Brianna says trans women enjoy being objectified? When I first heard that, it immediately felt out of touch with the reality of survival sex work, but the more I've learned about Brianna, the more it makes sense. She doesn't consider the perspective of others, but she does fetishize femininity herself. And it's not just femininity, but a specific brand of headstrong anime protagonist coolness. I have no other way to describe it, honestly. As an example, here's an article she would write during Gamergate. Just listen to—
Okay, fuck, I thought this was going to be a good 2+ hour hit piece, but this seems like it's literally just a whole bunch of conjecture slop. Is there anything better in this, or?
How she describes herself, and pay attention to the fixation she has on sports motorcycles, a recurring motif for many of the scantily clad women in her art. This section is a little long, but bear with me because this bit, written by Brianna—
Was with your swallowing thing lately? I still have like drainage or something from my throat, so sometimes I have to mute because I feel like I'm like I have like a, I don't know what I had, like a cold or something.
Herself is such a valuable insight with how she sees herself and goes through the world, and more importantly, how that just changes depending on her whims. Quote,
Based.
I'm late for a programming meeting with Maria.
Okay. Hello, Drew. What do you want? Cool. Nice. What? Oh, you have the stream on. Nice. Wow. A literal amateur.
How she sees herself and goes through the world, and more importantly, how that just—
Oh, we're just watching him watch the stream right now until he realizes he's in a call with me. Okay, that's cool.
Hello, Drew. What do you want?
Oh, hey man, how you going?
Oh, he's talking to the stream.
Nice. I'm very happy to be here. Very cool.
Oh, you have a stream on. Nice. Wow. A literal amateur.
Wait, what have I got wrong?
Wait, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you. Is this
Oh,
is
yeah.
this okay?
Oh, no. Yeah, we're good now. Okay, yeah. You were talking to the stream, but now you're talking to me. What's up?
Yeah. No, I only really just started streaming like 2 weeks ago, but I don't know. Can you see my video? I've got my Destiny Drew photograph in the background. Many people have said we are the greatest reincarnations of Malcolm X today.
Many people?
Yeah, many people are saying this all the time. We're carrying forward his black nationalist legacy. A lot of people say this.
Okay. Well, cool. I approve. Well, what's up? What do you want to chat about? You're Australian?
Oh, look. Yeah, man. Look, I'm Australian. We've got the Australian election tomorrow. Very similar dynamic to Canada. Like, Peter Dutton looks like he's going to lose his seat, and it's kind of like a similar sort of thing. Trump. People are getting very scared of Trump in Australia.
Okay. How do you feel about that?
Yeah,
what do you want to talk about that? What about it?
Oh, look. I mean, it's interesting. You can, if anybody's interested in the Australian election, I've got many thoughts. We've got one of the worst housing bubbles in the entire world right here in Australia.
Okay.
Other thing I wanted to talk about.
Why
as well
is that? Wait, why do you have one of the worst housing bubbles? What's going on there?
Oh man, so it was 2023. Our housing bubble actually became larger than the Japanese housing bubble at the height of the 80s relative to our GDP. So it's very bad here. Very hard for people to get housing. We've got very high rate of population growth. Very low approvals for housing. So it's like we've got NIMBYism plus infinity migration.
Okay.
And no, it's a very disturbing situation. Very disturbing situation. I don't think any side in Australian politics will fix that.
Wow.
But you should definitely stream it. You should stream the whole thing when it comes out tomorrow.
The election?
Yeah, you should. You should cover it like you covered at Canada.
Okay, I'll think about it.
You should. It'll be I mean, by the time that we get the results out, it'll be sort of morning for you guys, I think, in America.
Oh, then definitely not. Never mind.
Oh, right. Oh, I don't know, like, I mean, by the time you start streaming around like midday, like, we would know the results, I suppose.
Okay, I'll think about it.
You should. The other thing I wanted to say to you, Bad Empanada, like, you know, he's been posting my phone number, he's been posting my address.
Wow, that's not cool.
Try to kill me, like.
Okay.
Yeah. No, it's extremely mentally ill of him. Yeah, no, like, yeah, just organizing a massive online harassment campaign against me and against like Ethan Klein and all these other people. And he's got a new Twitter account. Yeah, and he's just been posting my phone number, and I've had so many people sending death threats from America and everything.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, he said he was going to do the same thing to Harvey. Did you see that?
To who, sorry?
There was a guy called Harvey Morenstein. He used to be the guy that did, I think it was Epic Mealtime.
Oh, right. Yeah, he does it to everybody. I mean...
Well, he quit. He dropped the... he was going to do the boxing thing, I think, for the Creator Clash, and I think he dropped out. And then I think Bad Empanada... Morenstein? What did I say? And then Bad Empanada replied to him and said, I'm going to... What did he say? I'm going to make hit pieces on you forever until your reputation is tarnished and ruined forever and all that. Yeah.
Yeah, he had a recent video where he said his explicit tactic is to try and drive all Zionist people off the internet. And so he was bragging about how he was going to try and drive me off and Ethan Klein and epistocracy and all this shit. But I've been talking to Ethan Klein's lawyers. I've been talking to his lawyers and I've been encouraging him to potentially look at suing Bad Empanada in Australia. He can do that because Australian defamation law is like universal. If an Australian sues you, even if they're doing it from Argentina, if somebody downloads the video in Australia, it counts as defaming you in Australia.
But neither Bad Empanada or Ethan live in Australia, no?
Yeah. But because Bad Empanada is an Australian citizen and he has his business set up in Australia.
Oh wait, does he?
Yeah, dude. He's got his Australian business number set up in Australia and everything.
Oh damn. Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, exactly. And it's better to sue him in Australia because we have way weaker free speech protections. And he would be forced to come and testify in Australia. And if he lost, then you could put a no-fly order on him to prevent him going back to Argentina until he paid off Ethan Klein.
Damn.
Yeah, it would fuck his life up. I mean, I think it'd be I think it'd be a great thing. I'm really encouraging Ethan Klein to look into that. It would be legendary.
Yeah, I agree. That would be legendary.
I don't know if you saw this, but he tried to sue me last year in Australia, and he was very unlucky because I work for a really good lawyer, and he gave me free pro bono legal help. And basically just wrote back to him with like 100 screenshots of him endorsing 9/11 and all these crazy terrorist attacks, and just said, it's literally impossible for you to defame. It's impossible for you to be defamed by Drew Pavlik because you have no reputation that could be defamed.
Based. Did he actually file anything, or did he just send you a cease and desist?
Well, send me concerns notice, and then like completely abandoned it when my lawyers got back to him, and then he had a big cope where he said, okay, I'm going to just raise money for the UNWRA. instead. And then he made a big 1 hour quote video yesterday, hour-long video calling me a rapist and a pedophile and saying, oh, you know, I was never scared of Drew's legal letter, blah, blah.
Damn.
Like, he's gone very schizo the past week.
Mm-hmm. What do you think is wait, what? How does he make money?
Dude, I looked into it. I think he makes like 3,000 Australian dollars a month on Patreon. He probably makes YouTube ad revenue. And he lives in Argentina, so he probably lives like a king there.
Oh, true. I don't know if it's an exaggeration or not,
exactly.
but my ex's dad used to travel to Argentina, and I feel like he told me you could literally spend like 2 or 3 USD and get like a meal. Like, it's insane how cheap everything is down there, or at least it was like a couple years ago. It was like super fucked or something.
Yeah, dude, it's look, it's sad. It's a pretty poor country. They got pretty fucked up by like Peronism and like all the crazy trade policies and all that sort of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, like he could just sort of like live off a king based off his like sort of like YouTube ad revenue and his like Australian Patreon money and all that sort of stuff. But he'd be fucked up if Ethan Klein sues him in Australian court. It would be pretty amazing. He would have to fly to Australia. If he didn't testify, like the judge could just decide it on the papers. Could just decide against him based off the evidence before them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like he'd be pretty fucked if we sued him in Australia. I really want him. I mean, he's literally been calling me like a pedophile and a rapist for like a full year. Posted my address. I had death threats to my family. He used it's so funny. He said Ethan Klein doxed him because he literally used his own name, his Facebook account with his full name, George Angelos Janitis, to like just like comment on my parents' Facebook pet profiles and stuff like that with death threats and all this crazy shit.
Is doxing illegal in Australia?
I mean, I think it technically does breach some laws. Like, yeah, he was doxing my address, all this shit. It's just hard because like I've tried to actually report him to the Australian Federal Police before, but Australian Federal Police kind of stopped talking to me because they told me not to go public about like this Chinese plot against me. I'm not even kidding now, it's pretty mental, but like in 2023 I got called in by the Australian Federal Police and they told me like they had disrupted a foreign interference plot to like find my address and harm me. And they said you can't go public about this. And I don't know why they didn't want me to go public with it. I think they just didn't want to like cause trouble with the Chinese government and all that sort of stuff. And so like after I went public with it like 9 months later, they just like basically they cut off my liaison contact. They won't talk to me anymore. It kind of sucks.
What was the Chinese plot against you?
Yeah, dude, it's fucking mental. Like people think I'm just like I don't know. People laugh at me and they go like, oh, Drew's just like inventing in his head that the Chinese government's after him. But yeah, like in 2023, I literally got called in by the Australian Federal Police and they were like, we've disrupted a plot against you. They wouldn't outright say it was China, but it was very obvious that it was China. And they basically said like we raided somebody in Australia because they were trying to find your address. We were already watching them, and then it came up when we were watching them that they were trying to find your address and harm you. And yeah, like the reason we knew it was China was because one of my friends, her name's Vicky Xu, and she was like a researcher who did a lot of research into like the Uyghur genocide and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And they really hated her because she did a report that led to like a big boycott of companies in Xinjiang. And it probably cost the Chinese government like hundreds of millions, billions of dollars. Like she got called in around the exact same time. And so I found out that she'd been targeting the exact same type of plot. And we're like, okay, it's pretty obvious that it's China and not like fucking like Russia or something like that. And then, yeah, like it's pretty bad. Like both major parties in Australia like competing at the election right now to be like, who can be more pro-China and stuff. And yeah, I'm actually sort of like worried like long-term like trajectory of Australia.
Okay, damn. All right.
We had Xi Jinping's personal cousin. He was like a high roller at the Crown Casino in Melbourne. And he was literally putting like tens of millions of dollars like in money laundered money like through Crown Casino. This was Xi Jinping's like actual cousin. So like, yeah, we're like a sort of like haven and a bolt hole for like a lot of like top CCP officials here in Australia, lots of money laundering and all that sort of stuff. And then, yeah, like both major parties are like very scared of being perceived to be anti-China because they don't want to like lose, lose votes among like Chinese Australians and stuff like that.
Okay.
So yeah, like my personal assumption is that they didn't want to like talk about the fact that like they had actually raided people in Australia trying to find the address of like dissidents against the Chinese government. I think they didn't want to talk about that because like they didn't want to upset relations with China, and yeah, it's a bad situation in Australia.
Well, that's pretty crazy. Wow. All right.
I have someone saying in the comments, you're not explaining this well. You should tell Destiny what the origin of your beef with the CCP is. I just like I was like 19 years old and I tried to do a pro Hong Kong protest at my university in Australia, and there were like 300 pro China guys who came out, and like I got like beaten up, and like the Chinese consul general in my city, who's like representative of the CCP here, he like put out a statement endorsing the people who attacked me as like patriotic, self-motivated patriots. and calling me a separatist, and I got like my name got like sort of mentioned in Chinese social media with like tens of millions of people attacking me. It was pretty mental. This was just like 2019, you know. And that's how I sort of started as an activist.
Okay. Is that mainly what you focus on? Is like anti-Chinese stuff, or?
Look, not as much anymore, because like, I mean, not anti-Chinese, more anti-CCP, but I mean, I got really passionate about like Ukraine. I went over to Ukraine. I was in Ukraine like last month, and I filmed some stuff at the front line and everything. Yes, I saw the aftermath of like a residential tower block that got hit by the Russians, like, and just got like blown up. Shrapnel was everywhere. Everything was incinerated. I saw that like 2 days after it happened. It was like 1 day after Trump shut down intelligence sharing. So, and I also went to the city of Kherson, where we were walking down the downtown, and like pretty dangerous. The drones constantly present because I don't know. Have you ever heard about like the human safari the Russians have in Kherson?
The human safari?
Yeah, have you heard of that?
I don't think so. No.
Oh, dude, it's really messed up. So like the Russian Telegram channels, they basically put on their Telegram channels that they were declaring the whole city a red zone. And they basically said anyone who's still in the city at this point is a military target. And so just basically day by day, they just have drones in the air constantly, and they hit cars, any random car that's going, any bus, they hit these buses. And when I was there last month, they were telling me that they had about 15 to 20 casualties a day. And like 3 days before I arrived, they hit a bus. They just dropped a grenade on a bus, and like 3 people died. And they post all this stuff on their Telegram channels, the Russians, and like they boast about it. They call it the human safari. That's where the name comes from. And like, yeah, literally just civilians, anyone who's still in the city at this point, they just like stalk people through the skies with drones, just drop grenades on people. And yeah, 15, 20 people either get killed or injured a day in Kherson. And like the whole city, like it was a city of 300,000 people. It's now 50,000 because like so many people have fled. It was occupied by the Russians, and it was under Russian control for 9 months of the war. And then Ukraine took it back. And like, this is their kind of like punishment. They're like, if we can't hold the city, we're just going to basically drop grenades on people all day. So that's the human safari. I think Dylan Burns has a pretty good documentary on it coming out, and I filmed a YouTube video on it too. We were walking down the downtown area, and like, yeah, it was pretty scary. Some of these places were like I Am Legend, like the whole downtown area is just completely boarded up. You see like 1, 2 old babushkas in the streets, and there's just shrapnel everywhere, cluster munitions, evidence of cluster munitions in the walls. Just like, yeah, crazy. So I was in Ukraine last month. I do a lot of Ukraine stuff. And then also I got really interested in like Israel Palestine, and like I guess I get tagged as a Zionist, and a lot of the same people who hate you because they call you like, you know, chief Zionist, blah blah. Yeah, I get a lot of the same, you know, hatred. I think one of the main reasons Vadim Panad hates me is because I'm a so-called Zionist, blah blah. And he just basically says like he thinks that every Israeli should be genocided, and he was saying this on his video the other day, like just straight up, he just thinks you should be killed if you're like Israeli.
It's pretty fucked up. Yeah. Okay. All right.
Yeah, man. It's messed up. It's messed up. I'm getting like fully brigaded by Vadim Panad. He just sends all his like followers to like my Twitter and my YouTube, and just tells people to like download all my shit, and just I just get constant like death threats. People. He made a screenshot. He made up like a fake screenshot where he's like calling me like a pedophile or something. And he gets all his fans to like comment this on my Twitter, and he gets all his fans to like downvote all my YouTube videos and stuff. If you ever get time, you should watch my video on my lawsuit against Vadim Panad. It's a pretty funny thing.
All right, I'll keep it in mind. I'll do it.
I got my full legal correspondence in there, and like it was pretty funny. Yeah, basically my lawyer just explains in very crucial detail how it's impossible for him to be defamed by anybody on the planet. Like, we have literally 100 screenshots of him celebrating like 9/11, Hezbollah terrorist attacks against like just Jewish people. He's got posts where he says 95% of Israelis are valid military targets. There was one time where there was an October 7 survivor, and it was like actually a liberal Israeli guy, like I think like a Haaretz writer or whatever. And he was in his house like the whole day with his 2 baby kids, like who were like 2 years old, and like Hamas was right outside. And yeah, like Vadim Panad tagged him on Twitter, and they had an exchange back and forth, and he was literally saying like, you deserved it, you deserved what happened to you. Next time the resistance will get you. And this guy like literally had his 2-year-old children with him, right? Like when he was Hamas was right outside, that Hamas would have killed his kids. And yeah, Vadim Panad was like explicitly saying like, you deserve this, your kids are valid military targets and stuff.
It's pretty fucked up.
Yeah, dude, he's like a fully sick guy. I've said this before, but like, dude, there are people who are like pro-Palestine and stuff like that. But Bad and Banana is another level. Like, this guy is legitimately the most psychotic person I've ever personally encountered in the internet. And like, I've had like full Chinese state-backed campaigns against me online and stuff like that. Like, and I'm not even kidding. Like, he's just as destructive for like your like personal life and your health and all this stuff as like a Chinese state-backed campaign against you.
Yeah.
I'm not even kidding. Like,
everybody is aware. Even Hasan knew this. I'm sure you've seen the clips of Hasan talking about in the past that like Bad Empanada is unhinged and he'll never be watching any of his stuff on stream or whatever.
Yeah, dude, 2022, Hasan was literally like, I will never promote Bad Empanada ever.
Mm-hmm.
And then like, yeah, now he's like explicitly promoting him. There's videos of Hasan going like, oh, listen, I just think he does really good research on Zionism and shit like that.
Yeah.
And so like they all know what he's doing. Like, they just use him as their fucking attack dog.
Yeah, that's about right. Yeah.
What was that thing where Hasan was saying, oh, Ethan's going to bring Destiny on my stream and then I'm going to get banned from Twitch or whatever? What's that whole shit?
I'm just like kind of, do you know what night terrors are?
Like, it just Hasan's haunted by you.
Basically, yeah.
Fucking hell. It's pretty funny, to be honest.
Yeah, well, when you're a fucking retard and you spend all your time trying to convince everybody that you're not a retard, then somebody confronting you on being a retard is probably your worst fear, yeah.
Yeah, dude, I mean, like, he's just not a smart guy. I agree with your analysis that he's just like a slop drama YouTuber, because, like, it's just funny. You get these people going like, oh, he's just got such a politically astute audience and shit. And it's like, not at all. Like, not fucking at all.
Yeah. Yeah, I think he's decently smart. Like, he's smart enough to realize how stupid he is. He prioritizes for clout and numbers, basically. That's all he really cares about. So, yeah.
Well, like, yeah, he's not like brain drooling retarded, but like, he's just not very smart. I remember there's like a video of him before October 7 where like I think he was playing a world map game and he was like trying to work out where Yemen was, and like he was putting Yemen in like Central Asia and shit like that. And like, this is the guy who's like, you know, just so passionate about the Middle East, like.
Yeah, and like that wouldn't even matter. Like, I didn't know fuck all before October 7th. But the thing that makes that so funny is that Hasan will constantly say, like, I've been studying this for years. You know, it's like, okay, dude. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly right. Like, he's just like I don't know, that iDubbbz thing where he goes, oh, Hasan endorsing 9/11 in 2021. Like, that's just because he's so passionate about the Middle East.
Yeah.
And then like, yeah, you look into it and it's like, dude, he didn't even know fucking where Yemen was. Like, and you know, I don't know, have you ever like seen how his dad's part of like an Islamist party in Turkey? It's pretty funny.
I've heard of stuff about it. I've never like dug into it, but yeah, it seems kind of cringe, yeah.
His dad was like a founding member of this party in Turkey that was set up by a guy who was part of like Erdogan's Islamist party, and then he like split from Erdogan.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I'm not even kidding. Like this new party that his dad's like a founding member of, like, I think it's like the Future Party or something like that. I gotta get it up, but his dad's favorite party, like the guy like literally sat down, not his dad, but like the founding member of this party that like Hasan's dad is like a founding member of. He did like a full sit down meeting with like Ismail Haniyeh, the Hamas leader. And it's like, it's just funny, like, and also his dad's like part of like an oligarch family, or like he works for an oligarch family in Turkey. Like, he was like a vice president of like this holding company that's run by like one of the richest families in Turkey that's worth like $20 billion or something like that. It's just funny, like his entire background.
Yeah, pretty standard for lefties, yeah. But yeah.
I don't know. I read that he originally tried to like orbit off you and stream with you and stuff like that. Like, years back, like he was friends with you. How did that work?
I mean, when Hasan, like, well, he approached me because he wanted debate advice, because he did a debate with Charlie Kirk, and I think he thought he could have done better or something, and then he kind of, and I was obviously one of the largest political streamers, so he wanted to get that clout.
Yeah. And so he like literally came to you for advice, like in The Godfather, comes to you on the day of the daughter's wedding, asking for advice.
Something like that, yeah.
I've just found it out. It's the Future Party of Turkey, and the leader Ahmet Davutoglu, like literally had a sit-down meeting with Ismail Haniyeh, and that's Hasan's dad's party. You know, it's funny. It's fucking funny.
Yeah, not surprising. Yeah.
That whole the whole endorsing 9/11 shit, and like iDubbbz going like, oh, it's actually really fair because he's just like, he's from the Middle East and he's really passionate about it. Like, that's just so bullshit. That really should have ended his career. Like, literally just endorsing like full-blown terrorist attack against Americans. I don't know how he can even like go forward after that.
Well, I mean, like his brand is like edgy leftism, so it kind of works, right? When the whole brand is like fuck America or whatever, you can make it work, basically, right?
I'm sending you now, Destiny. You should put it on your stream. I'm sending you a link to the news article where Hasan's dad's party like meets with Hamas leaders in Turkey. It's really fucking funny.
Listen, I believe you. Okay, I don't care about Hasan right now. Hold on, what am I clicking? Turkey's former PM, is that his dad, Davutoglu?
No, so his dad is a founding member of Davutoglu. So like, so Hasan's dad helped set up the Future Party in Turkey, and then the Future Party head has met with the leader of like Hamas, Ismail Haniyeh. It was May 2024.
Okay.
In the meeting, Davutoglu and Haniyeh discussed developments related to the war in Gaza, including the ongoing genocide by the Zionist occupation army in Gaza and ways to help the Palestinian nation. The two leaders also had a detailed discussion about the current situation in the occupied West Bank, Al-Quds and Al-Aqsa Mosque, as well as the situation of Palestinians languishing in Zionist prisons. In the meeting, the two sides reviewed the ongoing efforts to establish a ceasefire in Gaza, the results of mediations. While appreciating Turkey's official and popular stance in support of Palestine, Haniyeh emphasized the necessity of continuing efforts in the region and the world to inflict a hard and historic defeat on the occupying Zionist dogs.
Okay.
So that's Hamas's. That's Hasan's dad's political party that he helped set up.
Gotcha.
It's fucking funny.
I want to ask you a real question, though, okay? Are you ready?
Yeah, sure.
100 men or one gorilla? What do you think?
Oh, shit. Look, I actually think it legitimately would be 100 men because I was reading about this. And I think like the gorilla gets tired after like 20 people, right? Because they don't have the same cardiovascular ability that like the human beings have. We were really designed for like the top of the range, like cardiovascular endurance, the ancient humans of the savannah.
Do you think that who would be the first 20 men though that would volunteer to go fight?
Yeah, I know. Maybe like you'd have to have some kind of like suicide pact where like, yeah, they're just 20 people who are willing to kind of like lose their lives to fight against the gorilla. I think that's probably what you'd need. There'd be 20 people. You'd get a lot of casualties. There'd be like 20 people dying.
Mm-hmm.
But I think after a while, the gorilla gets tired, can't keep up, and then just gets fucked up by the humans. And also the humans can use tools as well, right? Like they can be like,
well, no way, that would be crazy, right? Like if humans were allowed to like bring swords and spears and shit, wouldn't they just auto win?
Oh yeah, dude, exactly. Especially if you've got like bows and arrows and stuff like that. Because I'm assuming that you wouldn't be able to have like guns and stuff like that. But but you know, imagining it's the sort of weaponry that older humans would have, you know, bows and arrows, rocks. You can use projectiles. Imagine 100 people from the hillside and they're all showering rocks on this gorilla. I think they'd be fucking destroyed.
Absolutely true.
I've got someone commenting saying, Drew's too ADHD. I do actually have ADHD. I just get really fucking hyper.
Okay, that's fine.
What time is it over there?
9:43 p.m.
Oh, okay. That's not too bad. That's not too bad.
Yeah, not too bad. Yeah, true.
You should definitely look into the Australian election tomorrow, Destiny.
I'll think about it all. Check it out. Okay.
It's unfortunately not as interesting as American politics. I personally find it pretty boring. But you would have Australian audience members.
Yeah, I might. Yeah. Or no, I mean, I'm sure I do. Yeah.
I remember when I was
actually, I don't know if I have that many. I guess because I feel like Japan and Australia are like the two. Well, I mean, those are together, but Australian time zone is just so fucking weird. I don't even know when they are normally awake.
Well, for example, right now it's midday for us. It's like 12 p.m.
Yeah.
So it's like kind of like just middle. I guess when you guys go to sleep, it's like middle of the day for us.
Sure, but I'm like usually asleep by now already. So.
Yeah, true. I mean, it's good that you're still around. How long do you normally stream for?
How long do I normally stream for? Well, I usually would have ended like 45 minutes ago.
Wow. Thank you for having me on to chat shit, Destiny. I appreciate that.
No problem, dude.
There are some comments saying that there are Australian members here. That's excellent.
Yeah, I'm sure there are at least a few, yeah.
Yeah, and when I mentioned the rental situation, it's fucked up. It's almost disastrous. It's almost disastrous. Like, it's 8 times the median household disposable income to try get something.
Damn, that's crazy. That's horrible.
Yeah, dude. Like the average house price in Sydney is like well into the millions. So like even just like the smallest most average house possible, it's well into the millions in Sydney.
Why don't people move? Like, I noticed there's a whole bunch of like empty space inland a little bit. Why doesn't anybody like move in there?
Dude, like, you know, the entire inland's like just full on desert. So it's like 70% of Australia is basically uninhabitable.
Isn't like California a big desert though? I feel like a lot of people live in California.
Yeah, good point. I mean, I've got this long-term thing. It's kind of retarded. Like, I know that it'll never happen, but I wish that it was possible that we could just like green the interior and have this like massive grand inland sea, and then have like cyberpunk cities in the desert.
Mm-hmm.
That would be extremely bad. That'd be extremely base. But it'll never happen though. It's like 90% of the Australian population like basically just lives on the coasts, and then yeah, like Sydney and Melbourne and Australia. Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane. I'm in Brisbane. Yeah, the rental situation's fucked. I was trying to get a place like earlier this year, and I literally had to apply for 70 different places before I got one.
Damn.
We've got, so America has 1.2 million international students or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
We literally have the same number of international students in Australia, despite our population being like 27 million, compared to America's like 340 million.
Do you send the people that come to study inland, or do they also stay on the coasts?
Oh, dude, they're all Melbourne, Sydney, Brisbane. Yeah, so it's just like very, very tough situation. I think like the past 2 years particularly, like we've had like basically the biggest population growth in Australian history.
From just immigrants, or from people like having kids and stuff too?
Oh, it's mainly from immigrants and international students and stuff like that. Because we've got pretty low fertility rate as well in Australia. It's a very similar situation to Canada if you've ever looked into that, where like they've had a massive population growth and then like they've got massive housing bubble as well and all that sort of stuff.
Damn. What are they doing about the low fertility rates over there?
Oh, nothing really. Like, this is what I was gonna basically say, you know, about the Australian election. Like, I certainly favour the sort of centre-left side, the Labor Party, which is like, I guess, our equivalent of the Democrats. But and our Greens are like, we've got a kind of multi-party system. Like, our Greens are probably the equivalent of like your Democratic Socialist Alliance, sort of America sort of thing, DSA, maybe even a bit more extreme than them. But yeah, like, even though I favour like Labor, like it's certainly a situation where it's like, I kind of think like whoever wins, we've just got this situation where like our housing bubble is just going to keep on going and nothing's really going to change. Like, both major parties are trying to like campaign on like who can raise house prices further. And
Who can like, raise housing prices?
Yeah, dude, raise housing prices. And like, it's just mental because like it was 2023, I think, when we crossed over. Relative to GDP, our housing bubble is like literally now bigger than the Japanese housing bubble was. And that Japanese one in the 80s was fucking mental. Like, at the height of the Japanese housing bubble in the 80s, the grounds of the Imperial Palace in Tokyo was like apparently worth more than the entire state of California. So it's just like, and like in relative terms, ours is now worse than the Japanese housing bubble.
Jeez, that's fucked up.
Yeah, dude, and our Greens are just really messed up as well. Like, I don't know if you've ever seen like the German Greens in Germany. They're like pretty pro-Ukraine. They're pretty, like, they're not too bad aside from like nuclear energy. But our Greens in Australia are like really, really hardcore leftists. Like, sort of, they'd be well to the left of like AOC.
Damn.
Because like AOC,
how big are they? Do you have are you like a parliament down there, or are there a lot of Greens in there? Or?
Yeah, we've got a parliament there. Like, they've got 4 members of the 150 House of Representatives, but then in the Senate, we've got proportional representation in the Senate, and they're like kind of like kingmakers in the Senate. For the government to pass anything, they kind of have to like deal with the Greens. And so I had someone in the chat saying, telling the story of how they fucked up Australian energy policy for 15 years. But basically, like 15 years ago, they blocked a kind of like more moderate move by the Labor Party to price in emissions. They said it wasn't good enough for them. And then we basically then got like 15 years of conservative government. We had like 10 years of conservative government in Australia where like they just did absolutely nothing on climate change. So they're really like, they definitely sabotage stuff.
Damn. Okay. That's
they fully sabotage Australia's like climate change response for like 10 plus years. And then their current policy is like they want to end the Australian alliance with America, but then at the same time also cut defense spending to 1% of GDP. So it's just like mental. Like, you cut the American alliance, and then not only do you not like have your own independent deterrent at all. Like you just literally cut your own defense spending in half as well. So it's actually just like a mental policy. It's like literally a policy to have China come in and like just invade and occupy us.
Not good. Not cool.
Yeah, dude. I honestly think it's pretty scary for us in Australia. Like we're very reliant on the American alliance, and then like with Trump just like fully retreating, it's pretty scary for us. It's pretty scary for us. I don't actually know what we're gonna do. I think we've kind of like got to do like French de Gaulle policy, where we just have like our own independent deterrent. Like realistically, we have to double our defense spending and all that, but it's just impossible.
Okay. I don't know what to say to that.
And yeah,
I don't know what to say to any of this, but okay, go ahead. Sorry.
With my gang stalking by the CCP, it's pretty scary if China actually gets to a position where like you know they're dominant over Australia. I think I would actually have to potentially go into exile. It's pretty fucking scary.
Into exile.
Yeah, dude. I'll tell you what my worst case scenario is for what China. Like some people think they're gonna like. Some people think like I'm like this hyperbolic guy who thinks like, you know, Chinese military is going to land on Bondi Beach and like have like a full invasion. Like I don't think it's going to be like that. I think worst case scenario is like Taiwan gets invaded and like America fully retreats, full isolationism under Trump, and then basically we would have a fallen government in Australia, and like all these pro-China people in the Australian business community, politics, media, they would form like basically like a pro-China sort of like Vichy collaborationist regime. And then in that scenario, I would like literally get fucking destroyed. There was an attempt like 10 years ago by the Liberal Party of Australia, which is like our right-wing party, like supposed to be the Republicans. Like they actually were trying to put in place an extradition treaty with China. That was 10 years ago, you know.
Jeez.
And like that's supposed to be like our like right-wing sort of like nationalist party.
Which means they could just like fucking really full on extradite you, right?
Yeah, dude. So if you remember like what happened in Hong Kong, how there was like a full revolution, and that started over the extradition treaty there. They were like close to doing an extradition treaty in Australia, and like that was like our right wing government that was going to do that.
Yeah.
So like, and then our right wing. So the leader of the Liberals in Australia, his name's Peter Dutton, and people kind of call him like a Temu Trump. That's like the nickname for him because like he's got a history of being pretty authoritarian and all that sort of stuff.
Okay.
And you know, there's a lot of people in his party who love Trump and all that stuff, but he's literally been saying in his campaign that he's like going to be like a pro-China campaigner. He wants to have a really good relationship with China. He wants to trade more with China, and like this is our version of Trump, you know.
Damn. Okay.
So, dude, I honestly might get fucking extradited or forced into exile if things get worse in Australia. It's pretty scary. That's why like I hate Trump so much, because if he just like fully fucks up, you know, America's alliance system in Asia and all this stuff, then I personally get fucked over massively.
Yeah, that'd be probably pretty bad, yeah.
You should if you ever get time as well, I've got this on my Twitter and it's like my pinned post, but it's like literally the Australian Federal Police testifying to the Australian Senate saying like, yeah, we literally had to intercept this foreign interference plot. We raided people. They were trying to find the address and violently harm Drew Pafu, which is fucking mental, because it's like, I don't know, like imagine that happening in Australia, right? I mean, imagine that happening in America. The American government, for all its faults, is pretty strong when it comes to this sort of stuff. Like they literally just arrest CCP agents all the time and like deport them, and like that just does not happen in Australia. Like our government's really, really scared of that.
Because they don't want to get on China's bad side.
Exactly, dude. Exactly.
Have you ever been to China before?
Nah, dude, I'm banned for life. Like, I could never ever go. I would like to go. I would actually like to go because, like, if you look at some of these cities like Shenzhen and like Chongqing and stuff like that, they look like full Blade Runner cyberpunk cities. So I think it'd be fucking cool to go, but I could never go though. Like, I was, dude. This is pretty mental things. My brother lives in America, right? And he's just like a college soccer player. He lives in New York, and they were doing like a bomb threat campaign against me for like a full year. So what the Chinese government was doing, or at least like proxies working for the Chinese government, they basically were just using Proton Mail, which hides your IP address, and they just create like fake. They create like 10 or 15 like fake Drew Pavu Proton Mail email addresses, and then they just send out like bomb threats in my name to just like places all around the world. And I was in London in 2022, and I got arrested by the Metropolitan Police because of one of these bomb threats, and they literally had me 24 hours in a cell incommunicado, no access to lawyers, nothing, because they treated me like a full terror suspect.
Damn.
And yeah, it's fucking mental. Like that's when I sort of like stopped doing like in-person protesting, and yeah, like then they started doing it to my family. So they did it to my mum. They were doing it to like my mum. They were doing it to like all these like. They found out my mum was like a retail worker, so they did it to all these shopping centers in my city of Brisbane to try to get a fight from her work.
Mm-hmm.
And then the most mental one was like they worked out that my brother lived in America, and they did a bomb threat in his name to LAX using Proton Mail. And 3 FBI agents like visited my brother at his college soccer dorm in New York City, and they were like, we know you didn't fucking do anything, but we still got to talk to you. And like it was pretty fucking scary for my brother. He was really pissed off at me. He was like, he basically said like, never ever mention me ever again in public. Like I try to avoid that. But like, yeah, that literally happened in fucking America. Like 3 FBI agents visited my brother because the Chinese government did like a bomb threat in his name. And yeah, like it's just been going on for years. Like I've like actually been gang stalked and everything. It's pretty mental. And this started just because I was protesting at my university against them.
Do you think has anybody from China ever contacted you directly?
Yeah, dude, I've been beaten up twice in person by like Chinese guys.
Do you think
in
they're
Australia
like from the CCP, or do you think it's just like random Chinese people that recognize you?
Oh shit! I mean, yeah, I think it's more likely that it's just like random sort of like they call them little pinks. It's like random nationalists. So it'd be the equivalent of like like a random Hamas supporter in America sort of thing. But I don't know. Like I've literally had when the bomb threat shit happened to me, and I was in London. The Chinese ambassador to Australia, he was doing like a press conference in Australia, and nobody asked him about me or anything, but he just randomly brought up my name and he was just like laughing at me and comparing me to like Julian Assange, being like, oh, he's been detained overseas and all this shit. And so like they literally know me. Like the Chinese ambassador was like basically mocking what happened to me in London, and then like
was this on like a TV or is this like on a video somewhere or?
Yeah, dude, this is literally on a video. I can show it to you if you're interested. It's pretty fucking mental.
Oh yeah, link it. I'm curious. That sounds crazy.
Yeah, I'll find it. I'll fucking find it. He really hated me because what happened was I disrupted his first speech in Australia. Mm-hmm. I like organized like a protest crew where like we got like 5 people into the audience, and every 2-3 minutes someone would get up and start chanting about Tibet and stuff like that. So he really personally hated me. And then this happened 2 months later, and then after that happened, yeah, he was getting asked about like Julian Assange, I think, and then he just said, this happens to Australian citizens all the time. Like, look at Jules Pavel, for example, in London. Like, just taking the piss. Like, it was like he was basically saying like, we fucking did this to you,
Do you think he personally ordered it?
Oh, I mean, it's fucking hard. I don't know if he actually personally ordered it, but he certainly at the very least thought it was funny enough to just like randomly bring it up at a press conference about me. Like, and nobody even asked about it. His name's Yao Chen. If you look at a picture of him, he's a very funny bloke. Like, he's like very short and balding, and like he looks very, very weird. Where is this? I have to find his Twitter page. It's so fucking funny. He's a really psycho guy. Like, he published it. He's been in the Australian news before, and he publishes like opinion articles where he basically said like, when we take back Taiwan, we will re-educate the Taiwanese independence forces, and like basically just straight up saying like he was going to do they were going to do what they've done to the Uyghurs in Taiwan.
Jeez.
I found it. I'll send it to you in Discord. Yeah, it's funny because I get all these people going like, oh, Drew's just like this like random retarded shit poster. He's hallucinating being gang stalked by China, but it's like an actual thing. Like I actually have been gang stalked. I sent it to you over Discord.
Okay, hold on. We'll listen.
Like,
One sec. Wait, let's listen. Hold on. Give me a sec.
Yeah, no worries.
Well, thanks for the question. I understand.
There's a poll in the chat where it's like, is Drew schizo or is he a victim of the Chinese government for having furry porn on his computer?
And well, thanks for the question. I understand that any citizen from Australia who is detained overseas should be in a sensitive issue. And just like Assange, or Mr. Pavlov, who's detained in the United Kingdom. The case of Chen Lei, the person you're talking about, is well, thanks for.
Wow. How do you know it's the Chinese government and not like some random troll people? Like, what if it was like, what if it was like Bad Empanada doing it?
I mean, this was years before I ever like got into like a real fight with Bad and Banana. I mean, you're right. It could potentially just be like random supporters of the Chinese government who are outsourcing this thing. The thing that was scary though was that they knew that I was going to be there on that day to do it. Because I mean, I'd gone to the Chinese embassy like 2 times in a week just to like, I was just standing outside. Like at one point, I was like ringing the doorbell just like to troll them and stuff. And then and then one day like I got there and I was like protesting, and then suddenly like all the police came up and they arrested me. They put me in a rear stack handcuff position, like really serious. They only do that for like 2% of arrests in the UK for like violent suspects. And then they put me in the van. They wouldn't even tell me like what I was being arrested for. It was only after like 3 hours they told me that it was for like a bomb threat. And then they said like, oh, we'd been informed by the Chinese embassy. And then like they told me like I was facing 12 years in prison, like 7 years for the bomb threat, and then 5 years if I wouldn't give them my phone password, because they wanted to go through my entire phone and like try and work out whether I'd sent it, blah blah.
Yeah.
And I was literally in a fucking cell. I slept in a British prison cell for like 24 hours. They wouldn't let me talk to a lawyer, wouldn't let me talk to the Australian embassy. Eventually they worked out like it was fucking bullshit and they let me go. But I got stranded in London for like 5-6 weeks. They basically said, if you try to leave, we might arrest you at the border. So I was fully stuck there for like, a month and a half until the Australian government eventually allowed me to like sort of like get out. And it was pretty fucking scary. And this is when that happened. Like when he made that speech, I was like on bail. I was technically on bail in London, and I was just stuck like couch surfing. I didn't know what I was gonna do. And then I just saw like overnight, like I woke up and like Xiao Chen, the fucking ambassador, had just been like mocking me to like all the Australian like press corps at the National Press Club. It was fucking mental.
Damn.
Yeah, so I've literally been gang stalked. Like it's kind of mental that they actually do this shit to people in America and in. This happens to all these Hong Kong activists in America as well, Tibetan activists and stuff like that. I know so many people who've been like gang stalked basically by the Chinese government. I don't know, it's scary, man. Do you think it's going to be a Chinese century with what Trump's doing at the moment? Do you think like we're fucked?
I can't make any predictions about the American anything right now. We're on our own schizo arc, so.
Oh, dude, it's like. I call it MAGA Maoism. I like legitimately think it's like the fucking Cultural Revolution type shit.
In America?
Yeah, dude, it's similar. Like the way there's like a fucking cult of personality. Like I don't know, you would have seen. Did you see the recent one where like they got all the people like around him praying for him, and then like every single cabinet meeting like they all have to go around in a circle and like just suck Trump's cock. Like it's like full Maoism, man. It's fully scary.
Yeah, it's pretty cringe. I don't disagree. Yeah.
Richard Hanania has like a funny take where he basically was saying that like when Trump dies, it's going to become its own religion, and I actually think he's kind of right there. Like America already has Mormonism, already has like Branch Davidians, like these Christian schismatic schizoid movements sort of thing, and like I think it's going to be like that with Trump. Like they're going to turn him into like a fucking deity.
No, once he's gone, I think people will forget about him pretty fast, and all the Republicans will just pretend like it never happened, basically.
Dude, I hope you're right. I really hope you're right. But the level of like. It doesn't make sense, like the level of devotion they have to him, like the cult following here.
It's pretty cringe. Not good, yeah.
What percentage of the American population do you reckon is part of this cult? Because it's only like half the Republican Party, right? If you look at the primary results and stuff like that.
It's like a hardcore cult, probably like of all the people that follow Trump, I always guessed it to be anywhere from like 30 to 50%.
Yeah. And then there's like half of people who are like, they just vote for him because they like want to own the libs or like.
Yeah, and he's not woke and all that dumb shit. Yeah.
Yeah, surely those people will split off from him when there's going to be like actual fucking shortages on American shelves, like in the next 2 months, 3 months.
Surely.
Like, I don't know. Have the tariffs impacted you yet, personally, Destiny?
Not really, but also I'm rich, so. I don't care about that stuff, We don't.
I was reading somewhere that, like, I was reading somewhere that like there's all these like podcasters and stuff like that who are noticing like all their e-commerce ad shit is just like down in the dumps because like of what's happening.
Good, fuck them.
And if that happens, then maybe opinion will start to turn. If he makes the entire podcast stream a slop class turn against him.
Maybe. Yeah, and then they can't sell their merch, and then we'll all be anti-Trump. Yeah, true. That's
I don't
true.
know, man.
Yeah,
it's
that's
it's
true.
fucking scary. I think it's like legitimately MAGA Maoism. I have like this thesis, and I was kind of building off Richard Hanania, but I have this thesis where it's like if you look at Trump's like personality and his actions and the way he governs, like he's like actually like kind of like more third world than like a Western leader. Like I don't know, like it's very weird. Like MAGA, like they really hate Europe. They really hate like liberal democracies across the world. They hate the West.
Mhm.
They're like dream leader is like fucking Bukele and all these like Latin American dictators and shit and Putin.
Yeah, it's pretty cringe. Yeah, and every time Trump talks good about somebody, it's always like some cringe, like Orblov or Kimmy or Putin or all of his greatest hits.
It's always like a country that's basically a shithole. Like America, like in Russia, 30% of people don't even have like indoor plumbing. Like it's objectively a shithole, and like, but that's their fucking gold society because they bash the gays there or some shit. Like that's how MAGA thinks.
Yeah, it's pretty cringe. I agree. Super cringe. Ultra cringe. Yeah.
Dude, like like Benny Johnson and all these people, like how they were like fucking worshipping the fucking sacrifices that everyone had to make when the tariffs came in, and Benny Johnson was like, "Stop caring about money. You should just accept the sacrifice." Like
that's
like full death cult behavior. Full death cult behavior.
Absolutely true. Yeah.
What's your prediction? Do you think you can survive? America can survive to the midterms?
We'll figure it out. We're a resilient nation, and enough people are counting on us that we'll do it. I'm sure we'll pull through in the end. America always does.
I really hope so, man. It's so sad because I was like basically the biggest America boo in Australia. I was like I was such a supporter. Like, I don't know. Would you know those like lefty? It's like Hasan's buddies. Like, Hasan has some buddies in Australia, like Friendly Geordies and like Boy and shit. Like, and they're all like basically tankies.
Mhm.
Like Friendly Geordies, it's funny. His views, Friendly Geordies is funny because like his views, it's like a standard Labour supporter. So like it's the equivalent of someone who's like full Democrat supporter, but like on foreign policy is a tanky.
Okay.
And they made this cringe video when they went out to Pine Gap, which is like this American like intelligence base in the desert of Australia near Alice Springs, and like they were just like having like a meltdown that this base exists, and they were just like walking around outside, and like at one point like boy like shat on the floor and then like smelled his own fingers of shit. Like it was just disgusting. Like it was fucking weird. And they were just like it was like a 1 hour rant video about like how there's like how dare there be like an American base in Australia. And like I just was like shit posting in response to it, and I was like, expand Pine Gap 1,000 times, make Pine Gap 10,000 times bigger to fucking troll like fucking Bad and Nut and Friendly Geordies and Boy. And then sadly, then Trump comes in and he's like just destroying all the alliances, and I'm like, I can't even really say that expand Pine Gap 10,000 times anymore. Like, dude, I was the biggest AUKUS supporter, and like now it looks like Australia will never get the submarines.
Yeah, well, not very epic, as they say.
Have you ever like seen like the AUKUS deal and stuff like that? That was one of the best things Biden did. And then like, it looks like we'll never ever get the submarines now in Australia. I think it's over.
Well, hopefully, when you guys form a strong alliance with China, they'll let you hang out on some of the submarines.
Oh, dude, I don't know what I'd do. I think I'd have to find exile in fucking Europe or something like that. I couldn't even exile in America because. You know what's funny? I actually want to go to America on a holiday soon. I mean, we were gonna do that podcast, like last year. Like I'm still keen to do it this Destiny. Like I actually want to go to America, like for a week or two. But like I wonder what would happen if I tried to get in. I mean, I've like talked a lot of shit about Trump and everything. There are random Australian tourists and stuff who've just been like deported at the border and like detained by ICE and stuff. It'd be fucking interesting if I got like martyred by ICE.
That'd be pretty fucked up. Trump doesn't like people talking shit,
Do you think I should try it? Just like book a ticket and see if I get fucking deported at the border?
I don't know, maybe. Why not? It's worst that could happen, right?
I should. Maybe I will. Maybe I will when my university semester's over in like June. I'll just like book a ticket, see what happens.
Yeah, fuck it. Yeah, why not? Yeah.
Are you still doing podcasts with like Dan and stuff like that?
Yeah, we have one, yeah. We're supposed to do one maybe tomorrow, we'll see.
You know what? Like maybe in June or July, I'll try come to America, and maybe I can join one of the podcasts. We'll see if ICE deports me first. It'll be interesting.
Yeah, we can try to meet you at the airport, and we'll get live video footage of you being captured. Yeah.
Dude, that would be content. Let's fucking do it. Honestly, maybe I should just when I do it, I should even post like the exact time I'm arriving and stuff like that. Give like the MAGA guys like a heads up. I don't know if you know like Captain Dreamer and shit from Twitter, but like there's this MAGA guy that JD Vance supports, and his profile picture is like David Koresh from the Branch Davidians Waco cult.
Mm-hmm.
And like, yeah, JD Vance like literally follows him, and this guy's like fully unhinged and psycho, and like he's posted before about how he loves Hitler and stuff, and like JD Vance follows like 1,000 people, and like one of them is like fucking Captive Dreamer. And I don't know if you saw, like, Richard Hanania posted a video. It was like this guy Captain Dreamer's dad denouncing him because his dad's like the head of like some Christian university in Canada, and he had to say like, I really disagree with like what my son's been posting about like Nazism and all this shit.
Damn.
And I don't know. I was thinking to myself, right, like if I go to America and I say like I'm going on this date, I'm going to be landing at Miami airport this time, like Captain Dreamer, he would literally probably like get contacts in the government to like fucking call it in. He tried to get the government to he got the DC attorney that Trump appointed, Ed Smith or something like that. He got Ed Smith to open an investigation into like Will Stancil, which is like fucking mental.
Jeez, that's pretty crazy, yeah.
There's a funny comment. Drew stripped naked and raped by ICE Groiper. That's fucked up, man. That's fucked up.
That'd be super fucked up, yeah. Jeez.
I don't know. What do you reckon the chances are? Like, there's actually been like a couple of Australians who've just randomly been detained and deported for no reason at all.
In America?
Yeah.
I don't know. Our immigration people right now are really wacky. So, you know, they just do what they do.
Drew subjected to cavity search by ICE agents at Miami airport. Groiper. Fucked up.
That'd be fucked. That'd be super fucked. Yeah.
That would actually be so fucked up. That would actually so not be fun. That'd be fucked.
Yeah, I imagine it would be.
There was actually like an Australian guy who was like living as a permanent resident in America, and there was a story in the Guardian, and he just got randomly detained by ICE because I think he went home to Australia for his mum's funeral or something like that, or his sister's funeral or something like that, and came back and he just got detained immediately by ICE or something like that at border control. And then someone was, and then he said in the Guardian article like the border control agents were like calling him retarded and were like, Trump's in power now, bitch, and shit like that.
Jeez, it's kind of fucked up, no?
I know, dude. I think that's Drew like tortured and raped by ICE agents at the border, subjected to cavity search. Fucked up. Actually, so fucked up.
Damn.
That'd be so bad, man. That'd be fucked up. I think we gotta look, man. If I do come to America in like June or July or whatever, and we do a podcast, definitely come to the airport and just be on standby in case like ICE, just start like fucking trying to like rape me. It'd be fucked up.
Okay, I'll keep my eyes open. We'll bring a GoPro and we'll be ready to record everything. Yeah.
Fucked up, man. It's fucked up.
All right. Well, hey, listen, I gotta head to sleep pretty soon. I'm cutting my stream off soon, so thanks for chatting. And if anything relevant comes up, shoot me a DM. Yeah.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me on, man. I've been a big fan for a long time, so I appreciate you having me on, and should definitely follow the Australian elections, and maybe I'll come to America in like June, July, and we'll see if I get like fully tortured by ICE at the border.
We'll keep our eyes open for it. All right.
Yeah, thank you, and thanks for helping me inform your audience about like the extent of the gang stalking that exists in the world. Like, I think they need to understand, China's bad. The Chinese government's very bad.
Yeah, a lot of them don't take it seriously, so glad we could educate them. Yeah.
Dude, it's bad. A lot of people think like, Russia's schizo, at least China's a bit more normal. Trump's so bad that maybe China will be better. But dude, it's actually really fucked up. They fully gang stalk people.
Yeah.
Thank you, bro. Thanks for having me on, guys. And there's some good comments here saying support Drew against the gang stalking. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. You guys are legends. Thanks, Destiny. I appreciate it, man.
We'll do our best. Have fun. Peace out.
Thanks, bro. Have a good one, bro.
That's your guys' punishment. That's what you get, okay? Okay. Did these guys... Okay, we were on territorial jurisdiction versus venue, I think. Did they resolve it?
If a place says, well, we're going to waive subject matter jurisdiction in El Salvador...
Are they still live?
Going to be on appeal. I think if the TRO, the contempt is overturned or something, it'll be
Oh
on
my
this.
God, they got to a different subject?
Boasberg says that his order clearly meant don't hand it over to El Salvadoran officials. That's what he took the TRO to mean. And
okay. All right, random final question before I think I'm actually almost. The end of this game again is in sight. Okay. Fuck building a whole legendary factor, okay? Because that sounds like cringe shit. But do you basically just, if there's certain legendary shit you want, do you basically just ship this to the ground? You would cook this ore in a furnace. You can never convert it to liquid, because if you convert it to liquid, you lose the legendary status, right? And you just build. Do you get enough in space to build every single thing? Is there enough in space to do it, like between all the ore and shit here, or get it? You don't lose legendary status. Are you sure? I think if you convert it to liquid, the legendary shit is gone, no? I'm pretty sure it is. Yeah, because I don't think the liquids hold status. There's gotta be a better way to... There's some way to logic this, but I'm too lazy to figure out how. I don't know how. I'm sure there is. Okay, well, I'll see you guys tomorrow, in one way or another. Don't worry. I love you. I'll catch you later. Be careful. Rip Brianna, cappuccino, poppuccino, hoppuccino, moppuccino, dampuccino, cappuccino, appuccino, alpuccino, my doing. Protect yourselves and stay safe. Oh wait, connection's true. Hold on.